Welcome to MediaShift's Digital Media Brief, brought to you by NextSpace and NextKids, co-working and childcare in San Francisco. I'm Mark Glaser with guests Joshua Keating of Slate, Lindsay Palmer of University of Wisconsin, and Andrew Lih of American University. After the November 13th terrorist attacks on Paris, misinformation spread online, and journalists worldwide had to strain to fact-check what was happening. In some cases, news organizations made mistakes in implying an Egyptian bystander was a terrorist, but in others, news organizations held the line and didn't publish rumors. Joshua, what stood out for you about the way that news spread on social media after the attacks?
I guess it was the speed this time. It was, I guess I should be used to that at this point, but considering how many incidents were going on around the city all at once, and a few incidents that weren't actually happening got circulated as false rumors, but the speed at which we did have a good idea of what was going on, and the majority of that has turned out to be pretty accurate, was pretty striking to me this time.
And Lindsay, was the Western media too knee-jerk patriotic in the wake of the attacks, and what do you think they could do differently?
It does seem as though the Western media, at least so far, has been reacting in a knee-jerk kind of way, and certainly in a way that has shown solidarity with France, but also has kind of made that jump, which is understandable, into perhaps a little bit more of a kind of reactionary and politically impoverished narrative. And by the Western media, I'm mainly talking, of course, about the sort of mainstream corporate, big news brands. I'm looking especially at the U.S. in this case, but to some extent also those in Britain and Europe. And I think that what they could do differently is really try, and really at the institutional level, try to incorporate this push to contextualize these situations and to bring history into the mix. There is a long history, starting with colonialism in France, of sort of sowing the seeds for this kind of persecution of Muslim populations. Also, the more recent history of European meddling in the affairs of the Middle East, along with the U.S. So maybe just sort of bringing some of these issues to the forefront, and then of course the reminder, which needs to be sort of foregrounded at all times, that we cannot be conflating a few extremists with all Muslims.
And Andrew, you worked on the Wikipedia page around when the news broke. Do you think there's something that news organizations can learn from the way that Wikipedia operates during breaking news?
Wikipedia, entering its 15th year of operation, for better for worse, has a lot of experience in covering natural disasters, current events, terrorist attacks. So I think the norms that have developed there would impress anyone who has never really looked behind the scenes. There's lots of fact-checking. There's lots of verification with reliable sources, not adding any numbers, not reporting anything on the Wikipedia page unless there are multiple sources saying the same thing. And I think it is no mistake, or that the Wikipedia article about the attacks was the number 2 most visited page on Wikipedia last week, and this attack happened at the end of the week. It certainly would have been number 1. So people come back to Wikipedia all the time because of the reliability of that information, at least for these current events articles, and I think that shows you that the community can do great things with this high standard for verifiability.
Well, thanks for joining us for the Digital Media Brief from MediaShift, brought to you by NextSpace and NextKids. Learn more about their pioneering program combining co-working and childcare at nextspace.us/nextkids. We'll catch you next week.